Yongjin, I'm super happy to have you for this data sommelier talk show. We met in Paris 2 years ago. It was a sunny day, and we have discussed a lot, drinking a beer. If I remember, drinking a beer
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
cafe.
that's true. Yeah, you have a pretty good memory up to date. Yeah.
Yeah, exact. And we have discussed a lot about OLTP, about OLAP, and also, of course, on what you do because you are in the middle of both worlds. You are the leader of RisingWave, and you develop some technologies about streaming database. And yeah, I'm super happy to have you to get your vision on that and better understand what you do and how you position your product among the big market we have here on the data side. So welcome, Yunjin, and yeah, up to you to share your vision with us.
Sure, yeah. First of all, thanks for having me here. And hello everyone. And well, my name is Yingjun, and I know that's right. It's kind of like challenging for some of guys to pronounce my name, right? Well, it's Yingjun, yeah. So I'm a founder of RisingWave. So RisingWave, okay. Let's just start with something about myself, okay? Yeah, my name is Yingjun Wu, and before starting the RisingWave, and I'm a founder of RisingWave, and the RisingWave is a streaming database, or sometimes what we just say, okay, it's a stream processing platform. Before starting a company, I was at AWS Redshift, and prior to that, I was at IBM Research Armadan, and my PhD was about stream processing and database systems. So my entire career is actually just about stream processing and databases.
Okay.
It's pretty fun, I have to say. I mean, so I started working on this 10 plus years ago, and it's kind of surprising me that I mean, nowadays people are still talking about the stream processing database systems. It keeps evolving. And people will probably ask, okay, what's RisingWave and why we need to start something new, right? Well, I mean, there are probably some solutions like Spark Streaming, Flink, ksqlDB, and why you have to, I mean, have a new stream processing system, right? I
Yeah.
mean, so
And we still have this two different worlds, OLTP on one side, transaction
oh
based,
yeah,
and
yeah.
OLAP analytical. And yeah, streaming, we are talking about streaming. We started to talk a long time ago, but is the reality of streaming, can we touch this reality? Are customers using streaming right now? So this is, you can see a lot of conversation on LinkedIn about, is streaming really a big need for companies? So yeah.
So look, Cody. So first of all, yeah, definitely there are OLTP, right? OLTP databases like Postgres, MySQL, and there are OLAP databases. So OLAP data warehouses like Redshift, like Snowflake, or probably like some others, right? The thing here that will, yeah, writing with stream processing systems, actually sometimes yeah, people are saying, okay, probably it's sitting in the middle, right? And I have to say that yes, it's actually it sometimes it's used to support operational workloads, but sometimes people do use it in for analytical use cases. And then what about the market? Well, is it like okay niche market or whether it's like okay you have a broader audience? So look, I have to say that I hear people repeatedly say that okay this year is a year of streaming, right? Well, okay, there are definitely more and more adoptions in stream processing. So look, well, I've been working on this domain for a long time, and I have to say that comparatively compared to if you compare to batch processing, definitely stream processing is a niche. But if you position it well, you actually can find a lot of use cases. And I will touch that part for about the use cases later. And for it, especially if we dive deeper into financial services, payment services, e-commerces, you will find that recommendation systems, you will find that everyone just need a stream processing system.
Oh
So,
yes.
well, I mean, I have to say that yeah, it is niche, but it's basically I would like to call it more like vertical. yeah, more focused on certain kind of verticals, and in some kind of verticals, we actually do have a lot of use cases.
Yes. And yeah, I know you have prepared some slides with some architecture and the big vision, and we will for sure understand exactly who you position right
Sure. Yeah, the first thing I want to show is that okay, what is RisingWave, right? Well, it's a distributed SQL streaming database, and I just mentioned that well, sometimes we say okay, I mean stream processing platform, fine. And you can see in the picture that well, essentially for stream processing, we actually have three different parts. Well, stream is a streaming database, right? Well, it's not just about it's not just a stream processor. It's a streaming database, and it contains three parts. The first one is ingestion, and the second one is processing, and the third one is storage and caching. Why we want to have storage caching? Well, the thing here that's well, it actually helps you to can manage data, right? So for example, if you want to join a streaming data with a dimension table, you probably really want to put a dimension table inside of a streaming database. And more importantly, you actually highly likely that you want to put your results, computation results, inside of the databases. Why? Because it's easier for you to check the results, right? Otherwise, if you have some other, I mean, stream processors, then okay, which can ingest the data and deliver data out without storing data, then you actually it will be super painful to check the results because we actually have to navigate to the serving system or the downstreaming databases to figure out okay where the what the result looks like, right? Streaming databases actually help to unify the streaming pipeline, including the ingestion layer, processing layer, and the database layer.
Yeah, very clear. Okay. So instead having multiple steps using different middleware like, I don't know, Kafka, then storing, then processing and publish to the applications, you have reduced this to two steps only. So because your database is doing streaming, so in one, in a all-in-one platform.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. We do believe that's why it's a trend. Basically, we do not really advocate for something like call it all in one. But what I really want to say that what people really love simplicity.
Mhm.
Our goal is to help people to simplify their pipelines instead of okay thinking a lot about okay which tools, which components I should use. I mean, you probably sometimes we can just use one single system to solve the specific problem, right? That's our
Okay.
goal.
Very clear. Okay.
Okay, and RisingWave. I mean, we found yeah, I started a company 4 years ago. Actually, exactly 4 years ago, yeah, February 2021 during COVID. Everyone was working from home. Anyways, nowadays, well, everyone come back, right? And RisingWave is we open sourced the RisingWave in 2022, and 1 year later, right? And it was under Apache 2.0 license. We don't really want to change the license, and we have cloud services. So RisingWave have already been adopted a lot by thousands of companies. I
Wow.
mean, probably more than yeah, definitely more than 1,000, probably 2,000 plus.
Okay.
And we have customers, paying customer. I mean, including definitely startups because we are also startups, right? We understand startups, and also the Fortune 500 companies. We actually have already had a couple of Fortune 500 companies, including manufacturing companies, energy companies, chemistry companies, and in Wall Street, there are like investment banks and trading firms and the brokerages. Well, they are pretty good customers.
Okay,
So yeah.
so congratulations for that, because in 3 years you have more than 1,000 companies using Rising Wave. So good score.
Yeah. It's definitely I have to say thank to open source, right? Well, I mean, so everyone like open source, but definitely, I mean, open source doesn't really mean that people really want to pay for software, right? But we do believe, but we do find that okay, for certain kind of companies where they really have strong need to basically to find people to help them to host a software and help to people to fix challenging problems, right?
Okay.
Mhm. All right. Okay. So as I just mentioned, I have to admit that well, it's not well, stream processing is not as well, I mean, popular as batch processing, right? Well, if you think about Excel, Excel is batch processing. RisingWave is not Excel, and stream processing is not an Excel system, right? Well, and it's essentially, I mean, but I have to say that well, it's super popular in certain verticals. Here are some verticals I found that well, you can always find a lot of use cases for stream processing. The first one is financial services. Thinking about payment services, right? Well, I mean, fraud detection is really nice use case. People just train their model. I mean, small model, not large language model, but small models, right? Using the, I mean, the probably past days data, and then they ingest the data, and then they store the data in a feature store, right? And then in order to get a feature, right? You actually need to do the feature transformation, and that's essentially a stream processing job, right? And in capital markets, brokerages, hedge funds, well, they all need stream processing. Why? Because well, they actually need to do something like order management systems, build order management systems, and check how many orders I have, right? Well, during the probably I don't know last of minute, right? And there are also compliance requirements basically require the hedge fund to and the brokerages to monitor their portfolios, right? Well, and also they want to do risk control, right?
Yeah.
For in
So
some cases, well, for so-called fixed income, they actually also do use stream processors for per trade analytics.
yeah, so I think yeah, those use cases match perfectly the streaming approach, and but I would say that on top of that, it's also a mindset, right? I've discussed with many companies, and being real time is a matter of tools, but not only it's a matter of a mindset, a specific way to think the business, and not all of the company are uh, streaming ready or real time ready. It takes
Well,
time.
yeah. It's actually a pretty yeah. You mentioned a pretty good point. Well, like one I still remember that well a long time ago I talked to a pretty big hedge fund in Wall Street, and they told me that well they just don't really want to use any batch system because they want to think in a streaming way. Because well, for the trading data, right, or time series data, and the data comes as events, right? So every single minute, well, every not every single minute, well, every single millisecond, we actually, even microsecond, you actually get an event, and they just want to think in a streaming way instead of a batch way. So that's pretty important. It's mindset.
Yeah, exact. Okay, makes
Okay.
sense. Good. And
Yeah.
it will take time for all of us to adopt this.
Sure. And yeah, apart from the financial services, definitely another interesting, very interesting service is the vertical is the entertainment, including gaming, sports betting, and publishers like newspapers, right? Well, and it's I'd like to spend a little bit more time to discuss gaming and sports betting. And for gaming, people actually, so you know that's why if you play an online game, the game, the yeah, basically in the game, it will show probably how many players you have you played with over the probably last 5 minutes or I don't know, last 1 minute, right? It's essentially a streaming job using the time window functions. And in some games, especially online games, you click some button, okay, and you get, I mean, I don't know, I mean, you lost some games and you win some games, and then suddenly it shoots some random, uh, I don't know, gifts for you, right? And that's essentially done by a stream processor because well, it actually monitors your behavior and detects, okay, whether I should give you a promotion, right? Whether I
Yes.
should give you send you a gift, right?
Yeah.
And for sport betting, I have to say that well, for this kind of use cases, it's actually more like trading. It's actually more like trading. If you think about the platform like Kalshi, it's actually it's not a sports betting platform, and I don't really recommend betting to be honest. But well, it's actually a betting exchange. So it's
Okay.
a new concept, but well, yeah, basically, it's more like a trading, trading system.
Okay. Yeah, but for the gaming, yes, it makes sense. It's about context and
Yeah,
analyzing what you do each second and keep you alive in the game,
yeah,
maybe, or giving you more power or experience or things like that.
yes, something like that. So though I'm not a gamer, but for yeah, I do feel that's why it's definitely a pretty good use
Oh
case.
yes, sure.
And there are more so-called traditional use cases like e-commerce, personalized recommendation, right? These days, a lot of people talk about TikTok, right? Their algorithms, right? Well, it's so addictive, right? Well, and why? Because well, they have the recommendation system, and it actually uses online training. And for online training, one of the biggest part is the feature engineering. You actually have to join the user click with, let's say, the user information. In order to do such kind of join, you actually need to have a stream processing system, and RisingWave is one of them. So look, it's pretty important.
Okay.
And definitely there are price comparison, fraud detection, churn prevention, and the prediction. Yeah, it's all about the stream processing.
Yeah.
And more traditional ones, well, energy, manufacturing, logistics. They really love stream processing.
Yeah. IoT, Internet of Things,
Yeah.
collecting
Look, what? Yeah,
events.
yeah. So especially for energy and manufacturing, they are IoT use cases, right? Well, because well, they actually have the sensors placed in the energy plant, and it will collect. For manufacturing, we have a customer. We have actually a couple of customers. It's a vertical use case. They actually have the factory, right? I mean, in the factory, they actually use the sensors to monitor the quality of the data, the product, like how all kinds of the metrics. They actually collect that, and they actually need to send the data back to their office. So that's what, not the office, but for the cloud, actually the cloud, and they actually have to monitor the quality. Think about, well, let's say if you are a car maker, actually every single error in the pipeline can cause huge loss for your business. So stream
Yes.
processing is definitely critical for their use cases, and they do not really want to have a batch-based systems, and they do really want to identify the issue immediately. Yeah,
Yeah. So we have many good reasons to adopt a streaming approach. Many,
yeah,
many. Yeah, sure.
sure. Okay, so yeah, we talked about the use cases. Let's talk about, okay, what is more about what is RisingWave, right? So I found that that's a good way to introduce a product is to compare it with some other products.
Okay.
So 60%, around 60% of our existing users or paying customers compare RisingWave with Flink, and 20% compare RisingWave with ksqlDB. If you do not really know ksqlDB, basically it's a SQL layer for Kafka. It's a Confluent offering. And some other guys will compare us with Postgres, compare us with OLAP databases, compare us with time series databases, and yeah. But you can feel that, okay, a lot of people still consider us RisingWave, a streaming database, as stream processor competitor. And yes, that's true. But we can definitely do more than just the stream processing, because well, we also do the streaming serving. The query serving, because for example, I can give you one single very concrete example, that is, well, recommendation system, right? After doing the feature transformation, you actually have to store the feature in a online feature in a database, and typically it's probably DynamoDB or probably some others, Redis, right? As a streaming database, it actually have the serving layer. So people don't really need to send the data out to, let's say, a Redis or DynamoDB. They can just use RisingWave to serve the data, and
Yeah.
that's pretty powerful. Yeah.
Okay. So the answer to this question is Rising Wave is a mix of that.
Yeah, it is mixed. Well, so I would like to say that. So when you say that, okay, a product is mixed, well, people will say, okay, probably it's what all in one product. Then I have to say that, it's a product designed for certain kind of use cases.
Yes.
Certain
Yeah.
kind of use cases, recommendation systems, so for the, monitoring, anomaly detection, yeah, for certain kind of use cases.
Okay.
Yeah, if you compare RisingWave directly ask me about whether RisingWave can replace DynamoDB. Oh, then I have to say that probably, yeah, maybe you can have a try, but typically it replaces something like Spark streaming plus DynamoDB or Flink plus DynamoDB or Flink plus Redis, something like that.
Okay.
I think that's probably a more natural comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. Then why RisingWave, right? So look, you have already had Flink, you have already had ksqlDB, you have already have Spark Stream. Then why RisingWave? We just focused on two things. One is ease of use, and the other one is cost efficiency. I have to say that your modern databases all focus on these two parts, right? But what does ease of use means? Well, I mean, we do not really have fancy UI. I mean, if you want to have fancy UI, definitely, yeah, we actually do have cloud offering which have pretty nice fancy UI. But when we talk about the ease of use, we actually more people considers, I mean, us loves us because of its Postgres compatibility.
Yeah.
RisingWave is compatible with Postgres. It's a great feature because why? Because everyone just love Postgres ecosystem.
Oh, yes. But Postgres
Yes.
is the number one database. It's a standard.
It is. It is. I mean, people tell me about ask me about how you compare with, well, I mean, there are, let's say, Spark streaming SQL, right? Spark SQL, or probably there are Flink SQL. How you compare this? I just tell them, look, I mean, we are using PostgreSQL, which means that we are compatible with PostgreSQL, which means that we can be compatible with Postgres ecosystems. Any database, almost all these kind of tools that can be compatible with Postgres are compatible with RisingWave, right? We have customers using dbeaver, Grafana, Metabase for Superset, and all these kind of data management tools, data visualization tools. Yeah, they can directly use RisingWave to connect to those kind of systems.
Yeah, and it means that you secure the foundation because this is a standard. So we can't give you objections about that. This is a standard, and boom, that's it.
Yeah. I believe that's what Postgres is I mean, the real golden standards for in the database world, and there's a number of, as you mentioned, it's a number one database system.
Yeah, exact.
Um, yeah. And the second part about the ease of use is the no menu state management. So if people came from the stream processing world and let's say Flink, Spark, and then they were typically complain that state management is super painful. So if you don't really understand what state management means, well, I mean, I can just give you a short description. So in stream processing, it's essentially incremental computation, and during incremental computation, we actually have to manage the internal states, so-called internal states, or partial computation results or intermediate computation results inside of our database systems. So that's where every single, if a new tuple comes in, we can do the incremental computation, right? Then the problem here is that how we can maintain such kind of internal states. For traditional stream processors, they actually use databases like RocksDB, embedded databases like RocksDB, but RocksDB has a lot of tunable knobs, and which can be super painful to tune. But in RisingWave, we actually have our own storage engine, which is S3 based storage engine, and we actually do not really expose something like the random parameters to you. We actually manage our database on our own, the storage engine on our own, so that's where users can do not really have the burden to manage their internal
Yeah,
states
okay.
manually. Yeah.
Okay, so simplicity is key. And would you say that this is a plug and play system, or you still have to push the knobs a little bit and tune? But it's simplicity is key for you.
Yeah. Because we find that one trend we find that over the last 4 years, we observed is that in the past, in the big data era, right? 10 years ago, people say that okay, let's write map reduce functions, right? So map function, reduce function, and let's tune something, right? But nowadays, well, people just focus on okay, whether we can deliver an application faster, whether we can just deliver this application within, let's say, 1 week, 2 weeks, right? I don't really want to manage two things. Simplicity is definitely king.
Okay.
Yeah. And
So I'm just checking the time, 25 minutes already. We are talking and
so yeah, there are a lot of contents, but yeah, no worries. Well, I mean, so yeah, let's keep things short. Well, I mean, so definitely another thing is that well, it's also about simplicity. It's a simplified data stack, right? So as you just mentioned, I mean, in the past, what people probably need to have, if you want to build a streaming pipeline, right, or doing something like recommender system, you actually have to have, let's say, a stream processor. I don't know, Spark Streaming, Flink, and then sync into, deliver data into Kafka, and then deliver data it into another stream processor, and then deliver the results, computation results into a database. Because well, neither Flink nor Spark Streaming store your data. You actually have to have a database to store data
oh
in
yes.
order to talk to your dashboard, right, or application, right?
But
But
I like this big picture where you clearly see how you can shortcut some complexity or
yeah,
avoid some complexity. Yes.
yeah. It definitely our focus is like how to help you to simplify things instead of okay telling you learn new things. Well, no, we don't even want to do that. Just a PostgreSQL and just use one single system. No more burdens. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Oh, okay. Okay, then let's talk about something else. Well, cost efficiency. So in terms of cost efficiency, what is cost efficient? Well, I have to say that's why it covers three aspects. The first one is runtime performance. I mean, during the query processing, right, where you don't really want to have slow queries, right, where you actually want to make sure that okay, the processing is fast enough, right? Okay, that's true. And second one, cost efficiency is as well failure recovery. I have to say that so yeah, we don't really want to failure, but for once failure occurred, we actually have to really want to recover from the failure instantly, right? Potentially in seconds, right? And in our case, in RisingWave, in the traditional stream processor, actually it's a pain because well, for stream processors, well, it typically take well the recovery time is proportional to the state size because to the state size, internal state size, right? We talked about state management. But in RisingWave's case, in worst case, in some worst cases, it can take hours to recover from failure, which is definitely not acceptable in most use cases, like financial service. You cannot imagine, okay, how painful it could be if you are trying to recover from failure for hours, right? It's disaster. And similarly for dynamic scaling, right, where you probably don't really want to, we can talk about that later. But in RisingWave case, for failure recovery, they actually store data in S3, so that you actually do not really need to recover because S3 is trustworthy, right? Right. I mean, we can always trust S3. And once your, let's say, EC2 fails, then no worries, but just okay, boot another EC2 and let that EC2 to fetch the data directly from S3.
Okay. We didn't discuss that, but do you host the service for your customers or it's on-prem or you can do both? It's up to the customer to decide. Or...
We can do either. Actually, we have three options. The first one is fully managed SaaS, and second one is BYOC, so-called bring on cloud. What is bring on cloud? Which means that the data, the service is actually running in your VPC, right? But the control plane is in our VPC, which means that we only collect the metrics. We do not really store your data. Your data is stored safely in your in your VPC.
Okay.
And definitely, there are some other customers saying that good luck. We are on prem. We are doing something like okay, trading, right? And we are doing something like okay, healthcare. Okay, we have FedRAMP requirements, right? We do not really accept any kind of like this kind of services. No worries, we have on prem support. We have on prem services.
Okay.
And RisingWave is open source, and if you don't really want to pay, no worries. We'll just go to GitHub and download the software. That's it.
Okay, and what is a trend you can see in different countries because you cover Europe, USA, but also Asia? Can you determine a specific trend for a specific region? Are we more on-prem in Europe or more cloud in USA? What's your feeling about that?
In Asia, we find that a lot of customers on-prem because probably also because we find that we are pretty much focused on enterprises in Asia, and we find that on-prem is definitely if you want to talk to banks, if you want to talk to traditional companies, and definitely on-prem. And in the EU and the US, I have to say that totally depend on verticals. For financial services, definitely have to be on-prem, right?
Okay.
Well, because I have to say that actually many banks, they do not really use AWS. They actually still running some servicing some, let's say, Hitachi machines.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's not that convenient. So we
Okay.
have
So,
to offer on-prem. Yeah.
so being able to deploy on-prem is still very important, I think.
Yeah, but luckily, I think the lucky thing here that we have the Kubernetes, right? Well, and most companies, not everyone, but for most of companies, do have Kubernetes in house. So that's why if you say that, okay, I want to do it on-prem, no worries. As long as you have Kubernetes environment, you can just deploy. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, good.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Definitely have a lot of slides,
No, I think we
yeah.
can maybe one or two slides more and
Yeah.
start the conclusion in a few minutes. But yeah, we still have 3 4 minutes.
Sure. And the other thing I probably can mention a little bit to you in 30 seconds is actual dynamic scaling. I mean, dynamic scaling in some use cases, in some verticals like ride sharing, are pretty important because they have the workload fluctuation, right? Well, in the peak hours, there's a lot of traffic, while in the midnight, probably nobody really cares, right? So dynamic scaling is pretty important to those customers, and even for trading, right, where they only want to use a service during the business hours, right, for at midnight, nobody really cares, right, well, because they do not really do trading at midnight, right? So dynamic scaling is pretty important, and in RisingWave's case, we can support a second level dynamic scaling thanks to S3 because we store the states in S3, so that's what you can just the machine is just kind of like stateless, right? Mm,
Understood. Yeah, I mean, I have a question for you because
yeah,
the news yesterday, Confluent and Databricks, they have announced a kind of partnership, mixing products together, or at least combining products together. So, what does it mean? It means that you were right 3 years ago about your vision.
that's yeah. It's pretty yeah. I saw the partnership. For actually, interestingly, I have to actually two slides. For so look, what people are talking about two things these days in 2025. At least from my perspective, there are two talk about two things. One is AI, and the other one is iceberg.
Exact.
So, so if you look at the partnership between Databricks and Confluent, you will find that where they just talk about two things. One is there. I think I remember that the slogan is like data streaming plus data intelligence, and they have the pictures showing that okay, you can do AI in Databricks, right? Well, yeah, it's AI application, and but for how to transform data, right? Well, how do you think do the communication, right, between the Confluent and the Databricks, right? Well, they actually support Unity catalog and not yeah that and with Delta Lake, right? With Delta
Yes.
Lake with Unity catalog, that's the thing, right? Um, from our perspective, we also believe that AI and data lake are the true main trends in the data space, especially for data streaming. And in RisingWave case, our action is that we like first one is that we have a Python support. We introduce a Python support, and because Python is the language for machine learning,
Oh,
right?
yes. Yeah.
And the second thing here that we actually have the expanded heavily bet on the iceberg because we believe that's why iceberg is the standard, and we actually have the so-called the iceberg engine, which people can just it has already released either this week or next. Okay, so what is Iceberg engine? So basically, people can just use the statement called create a table with engine equal to Iceberg, and then so that's where you can just store RisingWave data inside of Iceberg, and you do not need to manage the and then there's column store, and you can use any query engine to access the same data inside of RisingWave.
Oh yes, we did some meetup here in France with the Apache Software Foundation and some other people, and I strongly believe that Iceberg will be mainstream. It will take time for people to adopt it, but yeah, sooner or later it will be mainstream. And having multiple engines, like you mentioned them on your slide, like Trino or DuckDB or Spark, processing different workloads depending on different use cases. This is the way we will do data engineering in the next few years.
Sure. I believe that's from this year. I've already heard from multiple companies. Well, big companies, enterprises, they will say that they are saying that's where they are all in Iceberg, and it's essentially the trend. It is essentially very very clear trend.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for that. I don't know if you still have one more slide for the conclusion, but I think ending with this iceberg and the RisingWave 2025 vision was very good. So thank you for that. We have started to watch you 2 years, 3 years ago, and we continue to observe your progress on this market. We have a kind of magic quadrant Gartner dedicated to streaming database? Not really, huh? Not yet.
Gartner?
Gartner, a Gartner streaming database quadrant, magic quadrant. We don't have that, right?
Okay, not yet. Yeah.
No. Okay. So thank you, Yingjun, for this brief. And next time you are in Paris, ping me again, and we will continue the conversation.
Sure. Thank you for the invitation. Yeah, let's meet in Paris again.
Thank you, and talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, see you. Bye.
Thank you.